My name is Anna and today I'm making bowls. I love getting to make bowls mostly because I never make them. I make a lot of mugs. One of my pottery mentors told me that if you wanted to be a full-time potter, you needed to make 1,000 mugs a year, and I definitely took that to heart. People just love buying mugs. Everyone uses mugs. And it's an item that's sold really well as a single versus bowls, which people usually buy in sets. And my pottery's expensive, so it's like a little bit less accessible to get a dinner set from me. But it is more accessible to get a single mug from me, so that's why I make a lot of mugs. And don't get me wrong, I love making mugs, but it does feel really good to make something else. And I'm super stoked on these bowls because they're actually for the gift shop at the UC Santa Cruz Arboretum. This is my second wholesale order with them, so it feels really good to make bowls that are for something because they definitely tend to sit around and not sell for longer, although they do sell eventually. But I'm stoked that the Arboretum wants to try something new and experiment with new things because that means that I get to experiment with new things. This kind of straight edge ramen bowl shape is the first bowl that I really loved making. My teacher who taught me how to throw on the wheel made bowls just like this, and I remember loving them so much, so I started to make a similar shape. Obviously they look so much different from his, but there is a lot of borrowing that goes on in pottery, especially in forms. There's only so many shapes you can make things in. For the last custom dinner set I made, I did more of like a round bowl shape, and I really love that shape, but I always come back to this one. I'm going to be painting these bowls too, and this shape also makes it a little bit easier to paint them because you can reach the inside easier versus a bowl that has taller, rounder walls. It's harder to get your hand in there. Okay, this one needs to come off the wheel or else it's going to start drooping. Ooh, this is the wonky one. I was super stoked on all of the bowls that I threw except one, and this is it. It has a tilt, so one side is kind of a little bit higher than the other, and the foot is not at all even. But that's okay. When things are wonky, or even when I'm just trimming them and then they start to get wonky, I just try and roll with it and do my best. I think that's about as centered as it's gonna get. I can't remember who said this to me when I was learning, but somebody said nobody's ever gonna put it back on the wheel. Basically, they won't know. Sometimes when things are still on the wheel and spinning in a circle really fast, you can really tell how off-center they are. But when people buy a piece of pottery, they're not gonna put it back on a wheel. so nobody will know. It doesn't matter that much. Obviously, if it's like insanely wonky, I'm not super stoked on it, but for the most part, a little wonk is okay. Okay, now for this segment of what I'm watching in the pottery studio these days. I think the last time that I talked about it, I was on an audiobook kick, but I'm back on the TV. It doesn't really count as watching TV if I'm working while I'm doing it. Anyways, I've watched almost all 5 seasons of Breaking Bad in the last 12 days. It's so good. I had no idea. I have 3 or 4 episodes left and I'm on the edge of my seat. I kind of want to try and finish it today, but I have dinner plans and I cannot be late to dinner plans because I was watching Breaking Bad. Beautiful and not that wonky. This is one of the ones with a wide rim, like this lip part. And those I have 3 of, and I'm gonna put sculpture slugs on them. So I need to make sure that I keep the rim really wet. I'm gonna give it a good spray. And then it's also going to sit under plastic just while I trim the other ones. So after I did the sculpture bits on those bowls, I am going to bisque fire all of the bowls. Obviously the sculpture bowls I always do before the bisque firing because I'm making attachments, but the painted bowls I prefer to do after the first firing. It's just so much easier to handle them this way. I can pick them up any way I need to, and I can rest my wrist on the rim when I'm painting, but if I did that before the first firing, they would definitely end up breaking or cracking. And in general, I prefer to do as many steps as possible after the bisque firing just so that it's easier to handle the pieces. I am always using the Western Golden Yellow underglaze color for my banana slugs. It's just so perfect right out of the bottle. And then the tool I'm using here is the Zeem Precision Applicator Tool. It's a super nifty little squeezy bottle with a thin tip. Underglaze can be pretty finicky and often needs several layers to show up after the glaze firing, but this applicator lets me put it on super thick so it shows up really well with just one layer. In my last video, I filmed me glazing this entire kiln load, so I definitely used these clips and maybe talked about some of the same things. So if you're watching both, just pretend that you're seeing it for the first time. But for the painted bowls, I poured some of my clear glaze into the middle so that you can still see the design, and after I let it dry, I put wax into it so that the colored glaze would not go over the design, and then I dipped the rest of the bowl in this turquoise glaze. I'm dipping the bowl into the glaze at an angle and then rotating it around. If I put the bowl straight in, air would get trapped on the inside and the glaze wouldn't get everywhere that I want it to be. And also I'm trying to control the line on the bottom and get a clean line of glaze around the foot. And here they are after the final firing, all finished. You can subscribe to my channel if you want to see me and more of my work, and I will see you next time. Bye!